welcome to the next episode in Ghost in the Magazine. This will be the final episode of What Scared Us as Children. So I am Gabe,
I'm Jay.
And I'm Steph.
and for this week we are covering my movie, which is Hellraiser. And I regret choosing this movie. I tried to change it last minute and I couldn't think of something else, so I stuck with it.
I also wouldn't allow it, and I made him come over to watch.
Yeah, and after rewatching this, I will say it still holds up. It is still scary. The things that scared me as a child still scare me as an adult.
I will say this is the first. This is the second film we've had in so many months where the antagonist who starts it all off is an Asian man.
Right, the merchant, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're like the merchant and then Gremlins.
Yeah. The merchant in that movie, which it wasn't his fault though. He tried
No,
to.
he did say don't take it, but you know how
Yeah, so
men be.
that's a gray area. So, but so the movie starts off. We got one of the main characters, Frank, crazy guy. He buys this weird looking like box. It's like a puzzle, but it's not like your typical puzzle. Like you just kind of I can't even describe it, but it's a
You know
puzzle
what it
box.
reminds me of?
Uh,
It is a puzzle box, but it reminds me a lot of the key in the Mummy. Like it
Yeah,
opened up.
yeah.
But monsters didn't come out of the key
No.
in the Mummy.
So he buys this box, and then he's in the attic, and he's messing with it, and he solves it, and then next thing you know, a bunch of hooks come out, and they pierce his skin, and they start ripping him up. Pretty gruesome. So we're off to a bad start already.
So that first scene apparently is in Morocco,
Yes, yeah,
and the house that he goes back to, somewhere outside of New York. We gather from them saying, it's not Brooklyn.
right.
I didn't even catch it.
I didn't guess that.
I don't buy that he waited that long from Morocco to New York to open the box.
No, there's no way. Like, okay, just as an example, my birthday is coming up, and my mom shipped my present to me, and she said, "Don't open it till your birthday." And I said, "Huh?" Because that's a couple weeks away at this point, and I was legitimately just gonna open it and pretend like I didn't, but I just asked her if I could open it earlier. Like, human curiosity is strong.
Anyway, so Frank is dead, right? I mean, he's got ripped by hooks. He should be dead. So then we got his brother,
Larry.
Larry. There you go. I said Laurie.
Why
and
did
you're-
you-
Laurie,
what was that?
like the
What was
seasoning
that?
salt. Laurie.
He's
I meant to say Larry.
he's Larry in the film, but he's Rory in the book.
Why would they change?
I don't know why they changed it, because the guy that directed this wrote the book.
That's funny. He's like, you know what? I spelled Larry wrong in the book. Let me correct it here. We covered this movie, Elle and I did, in 31 Days of Horror. Like when we first started this podcast, my feelings have not changed. And the fact that Julia is the absolute worst person ever. Okay. When she meets Frank, oh my God, he literally comes to the door and he's like, "Hey, I'm your brother-in-law." And then boom, they have an affair. What?
How he seduced her as well. Like, it's a blink and you miss it moment, but whenever he kisses her chin.
Yes. And they're
He
like,
just wraps his mouth around her chin.
and she's like, yes, like this is what I've been waiting for my whole stupid life.
Her husband must not touch her very much.
Larry
He tries. Laurie tries. It's not
Laurie?
for lack of trying.
Larry tried. Listen,
He did.
And
Julia is like an ice box unless you're an unemployed quote unquote explorer who sweats a lot. That's her bag.
wasn't
Okay.
he sweating because it was piss and rain?
Sure, but he was also sweaty a lot, except for the times that he didn't have skin. But I'm sure if he had skin, he'd also be sweating.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Gross.
Gabe's face.
So,
So yeah, so I remember like they're moving stuff into the house, and
mhm.
they have the mattress, right? And they're like struggling really hard with this mattress.
Oh, that
And
was a
and Larry like freaking with the this is what got me too. This I remember, right? It was the back of a nail, just the back of
mhm.
it, and he cuts himself really hard
He's
and is like
gushing blood.
gushing blood. And I'm like, how? How did you manage to do that to yourself? Like Jesus.
And then he finds Julia, and he's just like
He's
a
just like what?
toddler, just
Yeah,
raises his arms, and he's gushing blood everywhere. Like,
but he did say something about like you know how I get around blood or whatever. So like he was woozy or whatever. But he's like walking around the house with blood everywhere.
The way they cut that together was so uncomfortable because it's three mover guys with Larry grunting trying to push the mattress up the stairs, interspliced with Julia and Frank fucking on her wedding dress. And then at the end, whenever like he cuts his hand, he just stands there for a second and whispers, Julia. Like,
All dramatic, like.
can you imagine living with these people? Like, my dude, this is not regular.
That's why Kirsty didn't want to live with them.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So she calls the house, and he's like, "Come over," and she's like, "Oh no, like
Yeah.
I'm independent. I'm good. I'm getting a job." And he tells her that she doesn't have to, and I'm like, "Let her friggin' live. Like, just leave her alone."
Yeah.
They probably like whenever it was her on the phone, they did really close-ups of her face with just a white background. I'm pretty sure they didn't have the money for the apartment sets, so they just filmed it like that.
Well, they spent it all on fucking hooks and Cenobite
Yeah.
makeup.
Oh my gosh. So the blood that Larry had on it, he was dripping everywhere. He ended up dripping it over into the. That's where they were, right? That's when they were in the attic.
Yes, they were in the
That's what I'm
attic,
trying to remember. Yeah. So
and the blood goes into like the floorboards.
yeah. And then fucking Frank starts slowly coming back, right?
Starts to reanimate her.
And he's all like, "Don't look at me," right? And then Julia's trying to run away. He's like, "Don't look at me," but then he's like, and getting closer to her. She's like, "Ah!" And he's like, in her face, "Don't look at me."
That was a great like David Cronenberg moment when his two hands just shot up out of the floor.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I am obsessed with that. I love one thing that I really love about this movie is the effects, because it is clearly an older movie, but the effects really stand up. And I was getting Mad Poltergeist 2 vibes. I don't know if you've seen that one with the tequila worm, which we really have to cover just for the tequila worm. But those effects, that's like just chef's kiss with his freaking arms.
and then the back of the spinal cord like goes into the brain and lifts it up slowly.
That is my favorite.
When I was watching,
watch it on repeat.
So anyway, he, Frank reveals himself, and he's like, it's Frank, and so Julia's like, oh,
yes.
And she was very calm about it. I feel like,
because I think that she's
she's English
sociopath. Oh,
both. Yeah, both. Sure, why not?
Honestly, because one of the main points that I made when we recorded this the first time was that how easily he then convinces her, I need bodies to restore my body, and she's like, okay. So she like starts luring men up there to kill them and feed them to Frank for some dick.
How good must Frank's dick have been?
From what I've seen,
it has to be the
good.
best. No, it has to be the best. Who is gonna sit there and she? You know what's crazy though? She like, oh my god, he looks like an abomination. But she's still like, and she's all like, oh my god, like Frank.
Wow. Like
we're not here to kink shame. Come on now.
Get away.
Body does it for me. Like you're gooping fluids, and I love it. But like he's a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Besides
she's helping him.
that, yeah. So she's also a murderess.
So, I mean, yeah. So that's what's happening.
In the
Slowly,
meantime, the dude's all oblivious. Like the dad, her
Yeah.
husband, he's oblivious.
Mm-hmm.
dude, he doesn't know what's going on in his own house. He doesn't know what his wife does like all
A
day.
house that's probably drafty. The sound probably carries. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's probably cracks in the wall and you can hear everything. And you have no idea that your regenerating brother is in the attic.
And he came in like at the start of the film, switched on a light switch, and on a mantelpiece above a fireplace, this statue of I think it was probably John the Baptist because he was beheaded. So it was this holy figure with a plate with a head on it that had fairy lights around it. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yes,
Why are
that
you so
was-
chill about this?
That was scary. I'd be like, Mommy?
This whole family is just bizarre. Like I don't know.
Mhm.
I have no words. But yeah, so that's what's happening. She's killing people. Frank is slowly getting, different muscles and tissues and stuff, and like the last thing he needs is skin. He's pretty much got everything. And once he gets his skin, they're gonna run away and ride into the sunset, covered in blood.
Yeah, so she thinks, and so I don't know why she would ever believe him. Like, never trust a man with no skin. Okay?
Words
If
to
you're
live
gonna
by.
I feel like it's a really great motto. And they're doing this bizarro Bonnie and Clyde shit, and Kirsty sees Julia bring a strange man into the house, and she goes, "Not my daddy's house."
Yeah.
In the
And
meantime, like whenever all of this is happening and Frank's regenerating and shit, she's sleeping one night with Steve.
Oh,
I
that
wanna
guy
say
she met
his
at the
name is.
dinner party,
Yeah, like
and then all of
imagine
a sudden they were in a relationship.
but she has this weird dream for no reason whatsoever
Uh-huh.
about like a bloody husk underneath like a white sheet, and he sits up and boom, it's her dad. So she rings him in a panic.
And she's sweating like she just stepped out of the shower with all her clothes on.
It's really uncomfortable that she's like daddy, like she calls him daddy.
Please cut my laugh out. Say it again.
She it's really uncomfortable that she calls him daddy the whole time. Listen,
gotta
this
cut
film
all
is
that
about
out.
this film at its base is about sex.
It is because there's a lot of like weirdly gross sexual tension between Julia and Frank, even when he's just like tendons and drippy goop.
And Frank and Kirsty as well. Like he's really rapey.
Oh yeah, I don't like that. He's very.
Kirsty sees shit going on. She's like, "Fuck, gotta get out of here." She takes the box. I think she like throws it out the window or something. Yeah,
Yes, she's like, "You want this box?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like,
yeah. Bitch throws out the window. Kobe.
Yeah.
She John Mulaney's that shit. You want it? Go get it.
"Go get it,
So
bitch."
she manages to leave the house, and then she like passes out, right?
On
Is that
the
what
street.
happened? Yeah,
Well, she's like running on the
passes, like-
street. Yeah.
She passes like two nuns and claps.
Yeah, and she was
Those
covered in
nuns are
blood too.
scary.
She had blood on her too, right?
She did.
Mhm.
Yeah, so she passes out, wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor's like rude as shit, and she's like not knowing where she was, and he's like, "Oh, you were holding onto this box," and gives it to her. It's like, what is it? Like you were holding onto it like for your dear life, and then so on and so forth. So she's in the hospital bed and she's playing with it, and she solves it, and then the freaking wall opens up, and she's curious, so she goes exploring, and this big ass, I don't know,
Pink banana creature.
like
Haunted
a
worm.
scorpion thing, yeah,
Like
and
a scorpion worm man.
starts chasing
guy.
her, and then she's like running, and she's like just very narrowly escapes, and then the Cenobites show up, so we got Pinhead and the gang,
and Chatter
Pinhead and
Butterball.
friends.
Pinhead and friends, and they're kind of explaining who they are. They're like, some people view us as angels, others view us as demons, whatever the hell. But they're obviously like some demonic creature.
They're obviously demons because it's a hellscape. Literally, it's a hell box.
Yeah.
Literally, it's got torture and shit, like body parts hanging from hooks. It's hell.
So
They're from a dimension where pleasure and pain is the same thing.
Yeah,
No.
the hell dimension.
no.
Only
So
Sadists think
they,
that way.
they were gonna take her, and then she was like, "Yo, like Frank, he escaped from your box or whatever. Like I know where he is. If I show him to you, will you let me go?" And they said like, "I
We
think,
want to hear it from him.
yeah,
Yes.
like perhaps." So anyway, so she she goes back to the house,
And
and
Frank is nowhere to be seen.
yeah, but she finds her dad, and
With
she's
blood all around the
yeah,
edges of his hair.
man is bleeding and like the skin's coming off, and he's like being super weird, and it's like, oh, daddy. Da, da, da." She doesn't question anything, but she's probably in shock. I give her that.
Well, sure.
Probably in shock. And then
Julia shows her. He says he put Frank down, and Julia shows her the body in the attic.
yeah, and then she
Yeah,
saw
that
the
has no skin. It's just a puddle of body.
right,
And
but then
then the
she saw the
Cenobites show up again.
right,
They're
yeah,
like,
and
we want the guy that did this. And she thinks it's her dad that did it.
mm-hmm. And but what I forget what gave it away that Frank was wearing her dad's skin.
Earlier in the film, whenever she had a confrontation with Frank, like she found the bloody husk that Frank was, he said, "It's me, it's Uncle Frank. Come to Daddy." And then the actor that played the dad delivered that line in a really rapey way. And she's like, "No, no, it's you."
That's disgusting.
Yeah, he's trying to kill her.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ends up killing Julia, but like
I
doesn't
have issues with the way he killed her.
yeah, but like after she died, he must have taken some of like her life force or something.
Yeah,
That's my issue. Like she turns into like this
a
covered in
mummy.
cobwebs, gray, like
Petrificus totalis.
but he doesn't heal. Like the skin doesn't patch itself up.
I did notice that too. Also,
He stays the same way.
maybe she didn't have enough, or maybe her skin was no good. I don't know. It's unclear.
Also, he basically skinned his brother for his skin,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Not to put too fine of a point on it, but brothers aren't the same size
Nope.
No.
everywhere.
No, and Frank was like buff or whatever. And Laurie was like a little dustman.
What?
Oh. We don't know what goes on down there. Sometimes, I don't know. I'm not a boy. I don't know.
Ah.
Ah.
So
Circumcision? What?
oh Jesus. So anyway, they they have this whole tussle around the house, and he's chasing her and whatever and trying to kill her. And then he like confesses like what he did. Like, yeah, I killed my brother, and I'm pretty much saying like, yeah, I'm Frank. And
In the attic room, yeah.
And they're like, bitch. And then so they take him, the hooks come, and the whole thing happens.
Tear him apart.
And that's, I mean, again, that's what I remember from this movie the most, and that is what is like,
Ingrained.
Yeah, like, dude, oh my god. Anyway,
his last words could have been better. For he just like, I mean, it was really creepy that he like has all these hooks in his face and all over his body, and he looks at her and licks his lips.
Last thing that he says really fucked with me because I didn't remember it.
Because all he says at the end is Jesus wept. And
yes.
I'm like,
yeah, I knew it was some Bible shit. Jesus
like, why?
wept. And
why
then,
would Jesus weep for you, dude?
Yeah, he doesn't.
So cool. Frank's out of the picture. And then Kirsty,
tries to run.
Yeah, but they're like, no, we want you to. Ha ha ha.
Why would you trust?
Why would you trust them? Why do they owe anything to you? Like, no. So
she dispatches 3 of them by closing different sections of the box. And then Steve shows up, because sure.
What a hero.
And Butterball is the name of that Cenobite that appears behind him with the tiny glasses and the like Tim Burton fat
Oh yeah.
claymation skin.
I don't like
Um, he tries to come at him from behind with a knife, and he gets taken out like a little bitch by a rafter falling on him.
It was good timing.
Mhm.
It was good timing. But yeah, they end up escaping the house, and the house like caught on fire. It was like destroyed.
Yeah, that was a really weird transition because it just sort of lit up inside, and then it's a
Yeah.
it's a cutaway, and it's an obvious that they're in a different place completely, just surrounded by sections of burning furniture or whatever.
Right. And she throws the puzzle into the fire, right? Trying to get rid of it because she's like, "This is evil. This is some crazy shit. I need therapy. Like, I don't want to see this thing ever again."
She was gonna need therapy regardless.
Yeah. So, but then
Homeless dude.
yep, gets the box and freaking turns into this weird,
Bone dragon.
yeah, freaking.
Not a bone dragon.
What are those things called from Harry Potter?
Which thing?
Astral.
Yes,
Oh,
the
Thestral.
yes,
Hmm.
and they fly away, and then yeah, the box ends up where it was in the beginning with the merchant. Anyway, so I mean that's pretty much the movie. It's not
Hmm.
anything too crazy. It's pretty simple actually, but
Gabe,
uh,
what is it about this film that really disturbs you?
Okay.
Like,
it's
is
it's
it
the
just the
visuals.
hooks in this?
It's the visuals. So like from
Mm,
like before watching this, the only thing I remembered about it was Pinhead, right? I mean, he's
mhm.
iconic, like you know who he is, and the scene with the hooks. That's all I could ever remember. But yeah, this movie again, it did the trick. It scared me. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, it wasn't like a oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to sleep at night, but it's more like it made me like
It got under your skin. It
yeah.
wasn't like
Literally, when that started, he was doing this. Like trying to bury himself into the couch.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
You're too empathetic is the problem.
Mm. He's squeamy. He's
yeah,
squeamish.
I can't.
And I'm over here
Steph,
like, oh, look at that.
Steph
Wow.
is it's funny because your favorite part of the film, which is the like gore and like the practical effects, is Gabe's least favorite part of it.
I know. Like he'll be like, "Ooh, can't look," and I'm like with my eyes taped open. I love that stuff. I once watched that 4-hour documentary on the Nightmare on Elm Street series, Never Sleep Again, where they showed you how they did all of this stuff without CGI, and I'm so fascinated by that. Like, I think it's so cool. Like that's the stuff I love about. That's the stuff I love about scary movies. I love jump scares and I love gore as long as it's like not, like disgusting, like cannibalism. I'm not into that. Like
Mhm.
I don't like that. But like I'm sitting here looking at it like it's not real. He doesn't really not have skin. So like how
Mhm.
did they do that? That's cool.
And I'm just like, ew, no skin. Ugh.
Yeah.
So, in the novel, originally, Pinhead was a woman.
Shut the fuck up.
So, the thing about it is, this film came out alongside stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, where traditionally you have the heroine who is like this, pillar
The,
of virgin,
the final girl.
the final girl, as it's called, yes, um, turning a phallic weapon on the villain, who is a male. So yeah, you have that around this time. So that would kind of explain why they changed Pinhead's gender to be a male antagonist. But at the same time, you have uh, Christie defeating them not with a phallic object like a knife or something, but by
With her
closing
box.
closing the box. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's an interesting gender bend. Yeah, reversal of traditional tropes around that period.
I'm really happy that you said that because I appreciate it very much now because of that. Like just hearing, oh, Pinhead was originally a woman, I would have been like, why would they change that? I love women in horror. Okay. Love scary women. It's not because I'm bisexual. Or is it? Okay, poquito. But because I am a woman, like, you know, equality and whatever. Women, if you've ever seen an episode of Snap, you know women are just as capable of they're
Yeah.
just
Have
as
Yeah.
capable of like chaos and murder and all of that as men are. They just maybe can't carry a body as far. Maybe even. Just maybe.
I think the problem with women in horror, or the problem a lot of people have, is that they try to do just female versions of male characters.
Mhm.
Yes, and they sexualize them.
hmm
Yeah.
Like Bride of Chucky.
Okay, but no. That
Okay, but no. No, I'm not giving that as an example. I'm saying that's just a version of, like, it began as a male horror figure,
Mhm.
just introduced the same character, kind of, but as a woman. It's
Y'all know that Chucky is my favorite, and I'm
yeah, I do.
just
But it's like saying, oh, why can't we have a female Michael Myers?
we don't
Pretty
need a female
obvious.
Michael Myers. We don't need
Yeah,
one.
we don't need one. But also the things that affected Mike, they wouldn't affect. I'm phrasing this all
I
wrong.
think you're getting
Okay.
lost in the forest.
It's okay.
Yeah. I mean it in terms of like Leatherface. What is gained from making Leatherface female?
Right. Well, they don't have to gender bend. What I would like more,
Mhm.
like I would love to see, now that we're in the age where we be remaking shit left and right. We're rebooting things, you know. Apparently there's not enough original ideas left in the world. I would love to see someone go back and do this with a female
Pinhead.
Pinhead Laurie. But not just go back and like give her titties in a low cut outfit. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
Because we got that Cenobite already.
We do. And we don't need that, but I feel like someday it'll happen.
It
And
could. I mean, it's been a long time since the movie came out.
true. Some things though are better left alone. So if they can make something original, that'd be cool. But like if I was a filmmaker, I would do this.
They have a remake apparently in production hell.
You hate to see it.
I feel like they do stuff like that so that they can try to outgross the original. Like we
Oh,
have
sure.
all this updated technology. How much nastier can we get?
Yeah, I mean that's the idea. All right, so final thoughts on this movie.
There was something I didn't mention, but I kept thinking every time I seen it. At the top of the staircase, like where the banister is, there was like this little dragon statue.
Didn't even notice it.
And for some reason I kept looking at it like, is that a reference to The Exorcist? You know, the statue that they find in the desert.
Of the little he who shall not be named.
Yeah. Is that what that is?
The way you
That's
snapped,
freaking cool.
you went.
Just it's the surprised hamster.
No, anytime somebody whenever The Exorcist is mentioned, I die a little bit. Like I'm not looking forward to rewatching it for this podcast. I'm really not.
Or when they bring out the HBO series of films that they're remaking with the original cast. Anyway, final thoughts, Steph.
I have heart palpitations.
Okay.
Well, you know, this is a movie that I'll continue to watch. It is the effects for me. It's not the story because I think everyone's fucking dumb in this movie, especially Kirsty. Because if I saw my stepmom bringing home strange men, I'm gonna call my dad. I'm not going into the house. I don't need to confront her. That's not my business. I'm calling my dad.
Also, she was sneaking around thinking, like, why was she thinking in a horror aspect and not, I'm going to burst in here and catch this bitch cheating?
Because she probably has unresolved trauma, which is why I said she's going to need therapy regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like it. I like the movie. Yeah, for the effects, I think Frank's gross. I think Julia's gross. I think Larry is spineless, and I think Kirsty's weird. The end.
What do you
Uh,
think, Gabe?
my thoughts is I hate the movie, but not in that way. So it served its purpose. It made me like, I don't want to watch it type of thing.
I like
It's
that song.
it's very it's very creepy. Again, the story's pretty, I feel,
Dumb.
simple. I mean, yeah, it's just not nothing. It's not anything crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, the effects is where this movie kind of shines and makes its mark.
It
Who's
definitely
Mark?
gets under your skin.
But it's
Ha! I like
Right.
it.
Where would you this on the scary meter stuff?
That is a good question. I would say, if paranormal, like if what is it, possession stuff didn't exist, I would put this at a 7, because possession stuff is like the cat for me, so it's hard for me to gauge things outside of that realm. But
Mhm.
it's scary because you know, no offense, but white people be touching shit that they're not supposed to touch. So you hear about that a lot in like ancient Egyptian excavations and things. This says it's cursed. Well, I'm going to touch it anyway. I've seen mad posts about people finding like things that were clearly used in witchcraft and they bring the stuff home. Like it feels like something your stupid friend could accidentally make happen around you. And that's why I give it a 7.
White people are
fair.
fucking idiots. And I was watching this film as like a white Irish dude thinking, fucking morons, this is some white people bullshit right here.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe, where do you put it on the scary scale?
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Out of?
Of 10. Out of 10.
Oh, okay.
It's
But an 8 out of 8.
just
I'm gonna give
because
it an 8 out of 37.
nah, it's pretty creepy. It's memorable, so
Mhm.
it gets an 8. It gets an 8.
I know you guys do numbers, but I tend, whenever I do this, I put them between films.
Okay,
I
So
like
like
it.
on like a horror aspect and like gore, I'm putting this just below Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but above The Hills Have Eyes
Okay.
Okay, interesting.
in terms of this creeped me out.
Okay. And I didn't even think to like compare those things. I went
Same.
straight to Poltergeist too. Tequila worm. Tequila worm.
All right. Well, so next month we're doing It.
Ah, yes. Next month is a special month. It is an introduction, like a precursor to the 31 Days of Horror that we're going to do in October, much like how this podcast started. So, the month of September is going to be dedicated entirely to Stephen King's It. We will cover the mini series, we will cover part 1 of the new movie, and we will cover part 2, and then we will also cover the book because we're nerds and we like extra credit. So stay tuned for all of that. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at GITM Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at WitchXPudding.
You can follow me at Gabuto.
You can follow me at Atlas_Snow.
Okay, bye.